September 19th, 1944. Rolling farmland outside Arracourt. France. Fog clings low to the fields. A grey curtain draped over wheat stubble and hedgerows. The world is damp and muffled. Smells of wet soil and diesel drifting through the still morning air. Somewhere ahead. Engines rumble. Somewhere ahead. Men are hunting each other with steel. Inside the turret of a Panther tank. Oberleutnant Karl Brenner presses his eye to the periscope and squints into the murk. The glass is cold against his brow. His gloved hand steadies itself on the rim of the cupola as the big German tank crawls up a gentle rise. Range will be at least 1,500 meters out here, he mutters, half to himself, half for his crew. We will see them before they can harm us. Below him, the cramped fighting compartment shivers as the Panther's Maybach engine growls. Feldwebel Dieter Kranz, the gunner, sits poised behind the 8.8 centimeter KWK-42 fingers resting near the elevation hand wheel. Beside him, loader Franz Meyer braces his boot, one hand on the turret wall, the other resting on the steel curve of an armor-piercing round. The radio crackles in Brenner's headphones. Panther WWII to all call signs. Visibility 80 meters. Maintain spacing. Watch the flanks. American tanks reported in this sector. Brenner smiles tightly. American tanks. Shermans. He has seen what the Allied 75mm guns do to German armor, scorch the paint, chip the skirt plates, ring harmlessly off the glacis at long range. At 1,500 meters, his instructors told him, Panthers are nearly untouchable from the front. The armor, the slope, the distance. It was a comforting equation. He repeats it now as the fog thins, as silhouettes begin to emerge on the distant ridge to the west. Shermans. Krantz says quietly. They're out there. You can almost see what he sees, vague, blocky shapes moving against the pale backdrop of the sky. Turrets like small boxes atop the hulls. The distinctive high silhouettes of American tanks edging along the opposite slope. Brenner lifts his Zeiss binoculars. The glass sharpens the world. He counts 3, no, 4 tanks. Their hulls look smaller than his Panthers. Their guns, to his eye, look thin and unimpressive. They are out of range of us seeing clearly, so they are certainly out of range of them hurting us. He says, we will close to 1,000 meters. Then we destroy them. He ducks back into the turret. Driver, forward. Slow. Gunner, orient at 11 o'clock. Watch that ridge. The Panther inches up, its broad tracks crushing wet earth, leaving deep scars in the French soil. In the neighboring field, another Panther keeps pace, its commander's head also jutting from the open hatch. Scanning, reassured by doctrine and training. This is the tank that was meant to dominate the battlefield. And they believe it, across the valley, inside an olive-drab M4A1 Sherman. Sergeant Jack Red Malloy wipes condensation from his periscope and swears under his breath. Hell of a morning for a fight, he says. The interior is hot, despite the chill outside, crowded with the smell of cordite, sweat, and oil. Lieutenant Tom Harris, the tank commander, is half out of the open hatch. Goggles pushed up on his helmet, scanning the same foggy fields through a battered pair of American binoculars. Somewhere behind them, the rest of the 37th Tank Battalion of the U.S. 4th Armored Division creeps forward, a long line of Shermans grumbling through the mist. These are not the old short-barreled 75mm tanks the Germans think they know. Harris's tank, and several others in the company, carry the new 76mm gun. A longer barrel juts from the turret. A different balance, a different promise. Harris spots motion, dark shapes on the far slope, low and menacing. Panthers. His heart kicks once, hard. Red, I've got Panthers at R12, long range. He calls down into the turret. They think they're safe out there. He studies the distance, the angle, the way the German tanks are turning, exposing the slightest flat of their turrets and hull sides as they maneuver for what they believe will be an easy kill. Harris has been briefed. The new gun hits harder. The new ammunition bites deeper. Loader, armor-piercing. Gunner, stand by for a long shot, he says quietly. In this grey French morning, two groups of tanks edge toward each other. One side certain of its invincibility, the other about to test a new weapon that will shatter that certainty in a single, shocking impact. The fog thins just enough to give shapes a hard edge. In Harris's Sherman, Jack Malloy leans into his sight, right eye pressed to the rubber cup, left eye shut tight. The reticle floats across a pale smear of field, then settles on a darker block that moves with a slow, predatory confidence. There you are, he whispers. Big cat. Behind him, the loader, Private Ortiz, cradles a long, slender 76mm armor-piercing round. The shell is almost as long as his arm, brass case shining in the dim red interior light. AP loaded, Lieutenant. Ortiz calls. Good, Harris answers. Still watching the distant Panther, red estimate range. Malloy chews his lip, judging the size of the target in his sight. The haze, the way the land falls and rises. Call it 1,500 yards, he says. Maybe a little more? Harris exhales slowly. The training, the gunnery tables, the talk from ordnance officers in dusty briefings all come back in a rush. The new gun, the higher muzzle velocity, the promise that at this kind of distance, against that kind of armor, they finally have a fighting chance. We are not backing off. He decides aloud. We take the shot. He taps Malloy's shoulder. Front Panther. Small right correction for wind. Hold a touch high. Make it count. Outside, the Sherman squats in the damp earth. Its longer barrel steady despite the slow idle of the engine. The crew holds its breath. Across the shallow valley, Oberleutnant Brenner's Panther eases to a halt on the slope. He has just enough elevation to see over the low ground. The Sherman's now clearer against the grey. Gunner, target, American tank, 12:00 clock. Long range, he orders. Krantz slews the turret, the electric motor humming. The Shermans swing into his sight, small and almost fragile. I have them, he answers. 3 hulls, 2 definitely with longer guns. Range about 1,600 meters. 1,600. Well beyond what they have been told the Allied guns can manage. Brenner feels a strange calm. We will take our time, he says. They cannot harm us out here. Driver, hold. Loader, armor-piercing. Gunner, wait for my fire command. In the split second of stillness that follows, the battlefield seems to tighten, as if the air itself is waiting. In the American tank, Harris stops thinking and starts acting. Fire. Malloy squeezes the trigger. The 76mm gun slams backward, the entire tank shuddering as the report rips through the fog. Inside, dust and paint chips rain from the turret roof. The gun blast punches out of the muzzle, a bright orange flash in the grey morning, followed by a sharp crack that rolls across the fields. The shell streaks out, invisible, cutting the distance between the two tanks in a fraction of a second. In Brenner's cupola, the world is still quiet. He is forming the word Feuer on his lips when something happens that does not fit any of his expectations. A hard, metallic impact slams into the Panther's turret front with a sound like a giant hammer striking an anvil. For an instant, Brenner thinks it is a near miss or a glancing hit. Then the armor directly in front of Krantz erupts inward in a shower of glowing fragments. The American round has punched through. Krantz jerks backward with a strangled cry as razor-hot splinters spray the interior. His right cheek opens in a red flash. Shards of steel and spalled armor whip into the controls. The sight, the turret wall. Meyer, The loader screams as a fragment buries itself in his forearm, spinning him sideways. The interior fills with acrid smoke and the bitter stench of burned paint. What was that? Meyer gasps, clutching his bleeding arm. At this range, Brenner stares at the fresh, fist-sized hole torn through what he has always been told was invulnerable. The armor that should have kept them safe at this distance now gapes, edges glowing dull orange. "That cannot be the Shermans," he says, voice flat, disbelieving. But even as he speaks, another American gun fires in the distance, and another sharp crack rolls over the field. A second American report snaps across the valley, a sharper crack inside the fog. In Brenner's Panther, Meyer is still clutching his bleeding arm when the neighboring tank takes the hit. The blast does not sound like a distant thud against thick armor. It sounds like something breaking. Brenner twists in the cupola and sees it. Panther 221 50 meters off his right front, lurches as a bright orange spark flashes on its turret cheek. For a heartbeat, it looks like a routine ricochet. Then a tongue of fire spits from the commander's hatch. Inside 221, the American 76mm round has smashed through the turret face, punched into the fighting compartment, and ignited whatever it found. The tank jerks to a halt. Hatches fly open. A figure hauls itself halfway out of the cupola, clothes already burning, and tumbles down the side of the turret. Another crewman kicks out of the loader's hatch, drops to the ground, and rolls desperately in the wet grass. Brenner feels his mouth go dry. "At this range," he whispers. "At this range." The equation in his head does not work anymore. The numbers do not matter. What matters is that Panthers are being killed from a distance that should have been an ironclad guarantee of survival. "Driver, reverse! Smoke!" Now he shouts. The Panther snarls as the driver slams it into reverse. White smoke grenades pop along the hull sides, blooming into thick clouds that mix with the natural fog. Across the valley, Harris watches through his binoculars. Hit on the right-hand Panther. He calls down. He is burning. "We got him." Inside the Sherman, Malloy grins despite himself, sweat running down his temple. Range was good. "Lieutenant, that was over 1,500 for sure." Ortiz already has another armor-piercing round in his hands. The smell of the first shot still hangs in the turret, sharp and metallic. "Up," he calls as he rams the second shell into the breach. On the left one, Harris says he is backing up. "Red. Track him." Same hold. "They thought we could not touch them out here. Prove them wrong." Malloy adjusts slightly, following the retreating shape. The Panther is trying to disappear into its own smoke, but the silhouette is still visible in the gunner's sight. A darker shadow in the shifting gray. "I got him." Fire. The gun crashes again. The Sherman rocks backward, then settles. This time, the round catches the Panther low on the hole front, where the slope flattens. The impact rings out like a church bell struck with a hammer. Brenner hears it as a solid, sickening blow through the hull floor. The armor should stop it, he thinks. Then the lower front plate bulges inward, and a jagged cone of steel and armor sprays into the driver's and radio operator's compartment. From his seat, the driver gives a convulsive jerk, then slumps. The radio operator vanishes behind a burst of fragments and dust. Hot metal ricochets upward into the fighting compartment, punching into the ammunition stowage by the loader's feet. One shell case ruptures, venting flame. Meyer screams, "Fire below! Fire below!" The Panther fills with choking smoke and the sickly sweet smell of burning insulation. Brenner does not think. Abandoned tank out, out, out. He drops into the turret, shoves Meyer toward the loader's hatch, and boots Kranz in the shoulder. Move. Hatches clang open. Figures spill out onto the wet hull, then slide down the sides to the ground. Behind them, the Panther's engine coughs, surges, and dies. Flames lick from the open driver's hatch. From the Sherman, Harris watches 3 black figures stumble away from the stricken tank. "Crew is bailing," he says quietly. "We got him too." In that moment, the mood inside the American tank shifts. The 76mm gun is no longer just a longer barrel and a new ammunition rack. It is proof that they can hurt the feared Panthers where the Germans feel untouchable. Behind Harris's tank, another 76mm Sherman in the platoon opens fire, the crew having watched the first 2 hits with growing excitement. Their gun booms, the muzzle flash flaring bright against the fog. A third Panther further up the line jolts as a round slams into its turret ring, jamming the traverse and showering the crew with splinters. On the German radio net, voices overlap in panic. Panzer 221 is burning. We are under fire from long range. Repeat, long range. Armor is being penetrated. Say again. What range? A disbelieving voice snaps. Over 1,500. They are hitting through the front. In the chaos, those numbers carry a different weight than they did in training classrooms and tidy briefing halls. They are not theoretical anymore. They are the measure of how far away death can reach. Smoke and fog blend into one dirty curtain. Behind it, engines rev, gears grind. Men shout into radios that suddenly seem far too quiet. Brenner crouches behind a low hedgerow with his surviving crew. Chests heaving, ears still ringing from the hits. The burning carcass of Panther 221 throws a dull orange light into the gray air behind them, popping and hissing as ammunition cooks off inside. Meyer presses a dirty bandage against his arm, fingers shaking. "Herr Oberleutnant," he stammers. "They went through the front." "Through the front." Brenner does not answer. He is staring at his own tank, 30 meters away, steadily filling the sky with a dark column of smoke. The hole in the lower front plate looks small from the outside, almost neat, ringed with scorched paint. It is hard to reconcile that small circle of ruin with what it did inside. His mind goes back to the gunnery range in Germany. Chalkboard diagrams, instructors tapping the glass's plate outline. At these ranges, "Gentlemen, you are secure. The enemy will have to close inside 1,000 meters to have any serious chance of penetration. Use your range. Use your optics. You are the kings of the battlefield." Kings do not flee while their own tanks burn at distances once considered safe. A fresh burst of American fire interrupts his thoughts. From somewhere within the fog, another 76mm Sherman has found its rhythm. The boom of its gun comes in steady, spaced beats, a brutal metronome. Farther up the line, another Panther reports a hit that should have been impossible. Turret front penetrated. Range 1,400 or more. Loader is down. Gunner wounded. We are blind. Request permission to withdraw. The reply that comes back is clipped but tense. All units, do not panic. Close the distance. Our armor is still superior. Engage at closer ranges. The Americans have improved guns. That is all. Use maneuver and fire discipline. Brenner tastes bitterness. Improved guns feels like too small a phrase for what he has just seen. Across the valley, Harris adjusts his binoculars and scans for new targets. The fog is breaking in torn sheets now, revealing more of the rolling French farmland. The sound of battle expands as other Shermans, tank destroyers, and German guns join in. In the turret, Malloy cracks his knuckles and leans back into his sight. "We are making them nervous." "Lieutenant," he says, "they keep popping smoke and backing off." "Good." Harris answers. "They thought they could sit out there and pick us off. Now they know better." Ortiz slides another armor-piercing round into the breach, muscles straining. His arms already ache from the constant loading, but he does not complain. Every time the gun fires and another German tank shudders, he feels the same fierce satisfaction. "Up," he calls. Harris spots movement near a farmhouse. A dark shape crossing an opening between 2 stands of trees. Red. Panther at 2:00 clock. Moving right. He is trying to flank. Range maybe 1300. Malloy swings the turret. The world in his sight slides, then settles on the moving target. The Panther is angled slightly, side armor showing more than it should as it hurries to a new position. I have him. Take him, the Sherman roars. The recoil thumps through the hull, rattling spent shell casings on the turret floor. The round catches the German tank just behind the forward road wheel on the right side. At that angle, the 76mm shell has plenty of armor to bite into. It punches through the side plate, then into the ammunition storage area. From the American position, it looks almost theatrical. The Panther jerks. Then a white puff bursts from every open crack, immediately followed by a violent orange blossom that rips the turret roof upward. The tank erupts in a roar of fire and fragments, sending a shockwave of heat even across the damp air. Malloy lets out a low whistle. That one cooked off fast, Ortiz mutters. Poor bastards. Harris feels the corners of his mouth tighten. It is war, and they are here to kill tanks and the men inside them. But watching a crew die that quickly still leaves a sour taste. Stay on it, he says softly. More will be coming. They know where we are now. On the German side, word spreads fast over the divisional net. Crews whisper into microphones. Tank commanders lean close to their sets as if they can drag different answers from them by proximity alone. New American gun reported. Penetrations at 1500. Repeat. 1500. One veteran commander snaps back, anger covering his unease. Check your ranges. You are panicking. The Sherman cannot do that at that distance, but in the back of his own tank. His loader murmurs, I saw it, Herr Leutnant. They are going through. I swear it. You can almost feel it. That invisible line of morale buckling. The myth of the invincible Panther, the belief in safe ranges and comfortable superiority, is cracking under the impact of every 76mm shell. The sound of battle thickens into a constant growl that rolls across the fields outside Arracourt. Guns bark, engines roar, shells howl overhead. The fog that once hid everything now hangs in tattered veils between smoking wrecks and churned earth. Harris's Sherman has shifted forward to a shallow fold in the ground, hull down so that only the turret and gun peek over the rise. The tank vibrates under him with each adjustment of the engine, the tracks biting into the damp French soil. Inside, the crew moves on instinct now. Ortiz yanks the breech open with a practiced motion, the spent casing clanging to the floor. He reaches back without looking, fingers closing on another steel-tipped 76mm round. He can feel the warmth of the gun, smell the burnt propellant that clings to every surface. AP up. He grunts, sliding the shell home. The breech slams shut with a solid metallic clack. Target front. Harris calls. Panther in the tree line. He is hunting us, so do not let him finish the thought. Malloy leans into his sight again. The German tank is there, half hidden among trees on the far slope. Only the upper glacis and turret visible. It is scanning, searching for the Americans that have suddenly begun killing Panthers at ranges once used as boasting points. Got him. Malloy says he is moving slow, thinks he is clever. Put one right on his nose, Harris replies. Let him know he is the one being stalked. The gun fires. The blast punches at their ears, even with the headsets. Inside the German tank, the crew never sees the shell that reaches them at nearly a kilometer per second. The 76mm round hits just to the right of the Panther's gun mantlet, the sloped armor, which has defeated so many earlier hits, cannot shrug this one off. The plate cracks. The shot drives through into the turret, shattering the gunner's sight and exploding in the cramped interior. From Harris's tank, they see the Panther jerk, then go still. No smoke at first, just a faint shimmer of dust puffing from the turret hatches. Then one hatch flies open and a figure struggles out, coughing, half-blinded. He slides down the side, stumbles once, then runs for the rear, hands pressed to his face. No one else follows. That gunner is done for, Ortiz mutters. Focus, Harris says, though he feels the same grim assessment. Red. Scan left. They are not going to sit out there like targets forever. They do not. Farther along the German line, a Panther commander named Vogt has been listening in silence to the frantic radio calls. Penetrations at 1400, at 1500, through the front, through the turret. He keeps his eyes on the terrain ahead. Jaw working, headset pressed tight against his ears. His driver glances up at him. Herr Leutnant, what do we do? We close. Vogt answers. If they can kill us at range, then we take that advantage away. We are better trained. Our guns still outrange them. We get in close. Make the shots count. He raises his voice on the radio. Panthers of my platoon, form on me. We advance on the American firing positions. Use cover. Use speed. Do not sit still in the open. His tank surges forward, cutting across low ground, weaving between hedgerows and farmhouse ruins. The big German gun points toward where the American flashes were last seen, ready to fire the moment a Sherman silhouette appears. But the Americans are not waiting passively anymore. Harris has already shifted his tank slightly, using a shallow draw to mask his hool. He watches the suspected German approach routes, anticipating that the shaken enemy will try to reassert control by closing the distance. Lieutenant, got movement left of the burned Panther, Malloy says quietly. Lower ground. Moving fast. Harris tracks it with his binoculars. A Panther turret briefly crests a small rise, then disappears again as the tank dips into a depression, using the terrain just like American crews do. They are coming in closer, Harris says. All right, that is fine, that is fine. He taps Malloy's shoulder. Be ready to catch them as they pop up. Remember, they do not own this field anymore. We do. 100 yards to their right, another 76mm Sherman in the platoon has found a similar hull-down spot. Its commander leans out of his hatch and gives Harris a quick hand signal. Invisible to anyone not looking for it, I see them too. I am ready. For the first time in this sector, the Panthers are not stalking forward toward helpless prey. They are walking into crosshairs laid by men who finally have the tool they need to fight back on equal terms. The ground ahead of Vogt rises gently, then drops toward the American positions. His Panther crawls up the slope, gun level, suspension creaking. Inside, his crew is silent, each man listening for the shot they cannot see coming. 50 meters to the crest, the driver reports. Slow, Vogt says. We give them as little target as possible. Gunner, be ready. The moment you see a Sherman, you fire. The Panther noses up, the world outside lifting in the gunner's sight. For a heartbeat, nothing moves in the gray light. Then he sees it. Sherman, front, hull down. At almost the same moment, in Harris's tank, Malloy whispers. Here he comes. The turret roof of Vogt's Panther appears first, then the upper glasses, then the distinctive long barrel. To Malloy, looking through his sight, it feels as if the German tank is presenting itself, offering the perfect target. On him, Malloy says, Take it, Harris replies. The 76mm speaks first. The American shot strikes the Panther just left of the gun mantlet, where the turret face angles meet. From outside, it looks like a single bright spark. There and gone. Inside, it is the end of everything ordered and controlled. The round bursts through the armor in a storm of white-hot fragments. The gunner is thrown sideways, chest ripped open before he can finish his firing solution. The loader takes a jagged shard through the neck and collapses without a sound. The tank fills with smoke and the coppery smell of blood. Vogt is halfway through the word Feuer when the blast hits. The impact slams him against the cupola rim, headphones jerking sideways. For a moment, his ears ring so loudly, he hears nothing else. Hit front, the radio operator shouts, voice high with panic. Turret is gone. Gunner is gone. Herr Lieutenant, we are finished here. Reverse. Reverse. Vogt gasps. But the driver does not respond. The shot has torn through the front of the turret and showered the hull compartment with fragments. The driver slumps over his controls, unmoving. The Panther jerks to a halt, nose still on the crest, an almost perfect silhouette. Harris does not hesitate. Again, he says, "Same tank." Put him down. Malloy adjusts a fraction and fires. The second round hits lower, on the exposed upper glacis. The plate cracks and opens. Inside, it rips through the remaining crew, then into the fuel system. From the American line, they see Vogt's Panther spout smoke from every hatch. Then fire blossoms inside and blows out through the open cupola. The tank sags, lifeless. No one gets out. To the right, the supporting 76mm Sherman catches another German tank as it tries to swing its hull away. Its first shot punches through the thinner side armor near the rear, igniting the engine compartment. The Panther rolls a few more yards, trailing thick black smoke, then grinds to a halt. Two crewmen tumble out and run, one limping badly, hands raised at the first wave of American infantry they see. By late afternoon, the field near Arracourt is a patchwork of burned hulks and scarred earth. Shermans sit in their firing positions, barrels blackened, crews exhausted and wired at the same time. The air stinks of cordite, spilled fuel, and scorched paint. Harris stands in his hatch, helmet pushed back, eyes red from smoke. He watches medics move among German prisoners, bandaging burns and shrapnel wounds. Nearby, a captured Panther sits silent, its armor pocked and pierced in places the manuals once called secure. An American ordnance officer clambers over the wreck, tracing a finger around one of the clean penetration holes in the turret. He glances over at Harris. Range, 1600, maybe a bit more. Harris answers, voice hoarse. First one we hit this morning was about that too. The German sergeant sitting on the ground nearby, hands bound loosely in front of him, looks up sharply. His face is streaked with grime, eyes bloodshot. That far, he asks in accented English. With a Sherman. Harris nods once. With a Sherman, he says. 76mm. The sergeant shakes his head slowly, as if trying to dislodge a thought that will not leave. We were told your guns could not do that, he murmurs. That out there, he jerks his chin toward the distant ridgeline, we were safe. We thought you would have to come closer. You always did before. Not today, Harris replies. Behind them, Malloy and Ortiz sit on the hull of their tank, boots dangling. They watch the smoke drifting over the wrecked Panthers and exchange a look that mixes relief, pride, and something heavier. Guess the big cats learned something today, Malloy says quietly. Ortiz nods. And so did we. He answers, that they can bleed. The sun sinks behind the low French hills, turning the smoke over Arracourt a dull orange. In the fading light, the once feared silhouettes of German Panthers stand broken and burned at ranges their crews had believed untouchable. Steel myths had met new steel reality, and the shells from American 76mm Shermans had written the correction in fire across the fields.